What's up, everybody, and welcome to the On Net Podcast. I am your host, MIC LOGIC. First off, I would like to thank anybody who listened to the last episode. Got a lot of positive responses and messages sent my way, so thank you very much. They did not go unnoticed. We're going to definitely keep this thing rolling along. And now it looks like I have a date when these episodes will be dropping. They will be dropping every other Monday. So my partners over at True Chicago Sports Fans, they have their own podcast, and they will drop it the Monday opposite that mine drops. So I'll drop mine one Monday, True Chicago Sports Fans will drop theirs the next Monday, and then the All Net Podcast will drop the following Monday, and so on and so forth. So thank you to everybody at True Chicago Sports Fans. This has been a fun experience thus far, and I feel like it's only going to keep getting better as we go. Last episode, I did not get to acknowledge the producer that was in our producer spotlight, and I would like to do that right now. His name is Max Julian. You can follow his music at Max, M-A-X, Julian, Julian, .bandcamp.com. Super talented producer, also a great friend. We have many hip-hop conversations. We talk hip-hop all day. So definitely check out Max Julian. He works with a lot of great local artists, so you'll definitely want to check that out. Me and Max definitely have some music in the works that we will hopefully be getting out to you sooner than later. He also works with a lot of talent around the nation, so some big name guys too. So definitely don't sleep on Max Julian, and thank you, Max, for your contributions to the last episode. Okay, so last episode I also said that each episode was going to get bigger and better. And I think I have achieved that goal, and I stayed true to that promise. After a long, extensive search of looking for a co-host, someone that I can bounce ideas off, tell jokes to, and talk basketball for an hour or whatever, I've come to the conclusion there is no one better than my brother, the sports savant, I.DEAL. Everybody at On That Podcast, please give a warm welcome to I.DEAL.
Why, hello there, everybody out there in sports land. It is an absolute honor to be joining MIC LOGIC on the All Net Podcast, brought to you in sponsorship with Shy Native Entertainment and True Chicago Sports Fans. I'm a long-time sports enthusiast. I played plenty of sports throughout my life and certainly am a fan of the NBA, so this is a dream come true, a dream realized.
We have an excellent guest coming up later on in the show. Our good friend, and he's also in the producer spotlight as well as being a very talented musician. Ronesh will be joining a little later on. But right now, let's get into the NBA news. LeBron James, as well as other prominent black athletes such as Trae Young, Draymond Green, Skylar Diggins, and former NBA player, now turned basketball analyst Jalen Rose, have formed a new group called More Than the Vote.
Yeah, it's a 501c4 nonprofit organization. They will not engage in any specific advocacy for a candidate. However, like you said, it is a voting rights group aimed at protecting African American voting rights.
And I think I called it More Than the Vote. It's more than a vote. The group is definitely focused on trying to limit voter suppression, especially in black communities.
Yeah, the aim is to inspire African Americans to register and to cast a ballot in November.
And LeBron has said that this group is going to go well beyond just the traditional, let's get out there and vote type of effort.
Yeah, he was actually quoted as, yes, we want you to go out and vote, but we're also going to give you the tutorial. We're going to give you the background of how to vote and what they're trying to do, the other side, to stop you from voting.
And LeBron, as well as everybody else that's involved in this group, they're going to use their high-profile social media platforms.
Yeah, LeBron James has openly admitted that his platform on social media to combat voter suppression and would be vocal about drawing attention to any attempts to actually restrain the franchise of racial minorities.
So hopefully this definitely has an impact on the upcoming election.
LeBron himself has long said that he believes his greatest legacy will come from his off-the-court achievements.
Yeah, and that's the point I was going to bring up next. Can you think of an athlete that has done more off the court than LeBron James?
Not off the top of the head. He has the tuition payment that he had set up with the University of Akron in order to provide a lot of low-income families opportunities to obtain a higher education. He also has his Hope School that serves from 3rd to 8th grade, as well as he also has the show on Showtime, I believe it is, The Shop, or is it HBO? One of those streaming channels. And then he's also in productions with Adam Sandler to have another show in the works.
Yeah, so I think the show's called The Shop. It's on HBO. All right, the next bit of news. Has anyone seen what the Joker looks like lately? I'm not talking about Joaquin Phoenix. I'm talking about Nikola Jokic.
He's looking good.
Seems like he lost a lot of weight. Last time I checked, he was 7 feet tall and he weighed around 284. That was last season.
Yep.
Now I think we agree he looks like he's somewhere between 245 and 250 possibly.
Correct.
So I want to talk about the impact that weight loss is going to have on his game. Positives and negatives. Positives, I think he's going to have more stamina. I don't think there's anyone who would disagree that he'll have more stamina. Unfortunately, when you have a little bit more weight on you, it's harder to get up and down that court. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Speaking from own personal experiences, there's certain mile markers or milestones in the weight journey and the correlation towards basketball and the propensity to be able to move your feet and guard people. I know there's certain numbers that I hit where I was still putting up 20 plus myself in leagues with you or at work, and I was at a certain weight, but then when you add 30 to that, you're like, oh, I'm transitioning from a guard to playing the post, and I'm not getting up and down the court with such ferocity as before. So it certainly happens, but it's not like he was in terrible shape. He just didn't look the part. If you remember last year's Western Conference semifinals, he still put up 33 points, 18 rebounds, and 14 assists while playing 64 minutes in a four overtime game, 3 loss.
He's an incredibly skilled player. He has inside-out game. He can handle the ball. I mean, there's pretty much nothing he can't do on the basketball court.
Correct. There's a lot of it he's able to bully his way in. He also said that this transformation was long set in motion. He said back in February he lost about 20 to 25 pounds during the season through diet and exercise, and it actually coincided with his upward trajectory of play. He averaged 25.5 points, 10 rebounds, and 7.2 assists on 64% shooting in the month of February.
Wow. Yeah, Jokic is definitely one of the young stars of the league. We also have to say that he was found COVID-19 positive.
I don't believe that has any correlation to his weight loss or anything of that regards. I think if you saw James Harden also lost weight, there's a lot of guys, they've had a little bit more ample time to spend working out, and I think they must also be thinking that the games are going to be coming so quick, so fast. I think that most teams are playing 7 or 8 games in a matter of 18 days, so recovery time and whatnot is going to be less, so I think it's even more apparent and more important that you actually are physically in shape and able to run the court.
Yeah, and games will start on July 30th, not July 31st like I reported last episode. But I want to go back to your playing days with me, running up and down the courts at Sheridan Park or wherever we were playing.
Gage Park.
They kind of looked at you like Zion. They hadn't seen a man of that size be able to bring the ball up from one end of the court to the other, and you didn't always do it in the quickest way possible.
But that goes back to the fact that at that point I was already 30 pounds over my highest ability level playing weight, so there is something that affects. But if I drop 60, boy, I'm playing above the rim again. Come meet me at the rack.
And when it comes to the pantheon of trash talkers, I think MJ, Bird, Kobe, I.DEAL.
I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, have you ever met anyone that could start a game, talk trash to the referee, talk trash to people in the stands, and talk trash to his own teammates and the opposing team at the same time? I'm here for all the smoke. If you want it, it's free smoke all day, and I am one of the greatest. I come from a long line of trash talkers, and I look forward to it. I even cut my evening short the night before to ensure that my trash talk, that's what I love. Like Kobe Bryant, when he learned something for Luka Doncic in order to talk to him in his own language, I was like, man, that's something I would have done.
This is Luka from Slovenia?
Yes, correct.
Kobe was amazing.
Getting back to the weight loss, it's we've seen this before. Remember with Kevin Love when he first joined the Cavaliers, he was under the impression they were going to run, and he got down to about 240, and he felt that he got too skinny.
Well, he was already undersized for his position, I felt. Because he tried to play a big... I think he's like 6'10".
He's 6'10".
He might be 6'9", but he does not look big down there.
He's 6'9", 6'10".
And he can't jump.
And he came into the league when he was at UCLA. He was around 270. So that's... Let me tell you guys something.
He's more of a spot-up shooter nowadays, though.
Let me tell you something. If you're bigger than 6 feet, I'd say if you're taller than 6'2" and you weigh more than 200 pounds, you are a big man.
I'm not saying he's not a big man.
Some guys are that, and they play small. I've known a guy to get boxed out who's 6'2", 2+, and got boxed out by a guy 5'7".
I was hungover.
And he got berated accordingly on the court by me.
I was hungover that day. I wanted you to give the people one of your greatest trash talk moments when we were playing?
Oh man, it's so hard to pick. I think the one where I got in a post, I spun, I hit the guy in the face with my elbow and got an and one.
What'd you say?
Told him to get in the weight room.
And then how about the address change?
Oh yeah, I would tell people that they're in the post. So I start counting. My favorite thing is to go the 3 seconds in the lane, and it's 1 second, 2 seconds, 23 seconds, 33 seconds. Get him a change of address form because he might as well live here.
Let me point out, this man was sort of like Rodman in the way that he would have a crazy night before, but he'd come and play no matter what. And he'd still play at a high level. You never had to question I.DEAL on the basketball court.
Some people will say, my sister included, I actually played better intoxicated.
You definitely bowled better intoxicated. I think you almost bowled a 300 one time then.
And it was, what was it, the night where they got the lights going and everything? Yeah, there was like disco night and everything, and I still bowled a pretty high number. It actually set my PR that day, so maybe I'm just a high functioning, I don't know.
But I.DEAL can also attest to the fact that I was one hell of a shooter. If nothing else, I was one hell of a shooter.
I will give him that. You know, I never missed an opportunity to take shots at Michael, but he is a fantastic shooter to the point where I almost killed a lady on a basketball court because we were coming down on a fast break, myself bringing the ball up in the middle. As he alluded to earlier, I did have the ball in my hands a lot. Pause. And I had my nephew on the left wing. I had Michael on the white ring. We were coming down. It was a 3-on-1 fast break. I chose to look at my nephew but throw a no-look pass because I was intending Mike to cut to the basket and, you know, just dive, and then, you know, that's what you're taught. But no, Michael, in all his three-point glory, pulled up from the three. I threw a no-look pass and almost decapitated a young fan in the stands.
That three-point line is kind of like a finish line to me. The race is over once I hit that.
You're not lying. Many a times I tell Michael, he only plays from three-point line to three-point line. I told him, why don't you come down underneath three-point line where the real men play? Still waiting on that invitation to be accepted.
I also need to bring up that I'm a hell of an underrated defender.
That I always had exceptions with. I don't know about that too well. I never seen you get cooked, so I'll give you that. He's
You heard that, never cooked. People weren't ever putting up 40 plus points on me.
I'll give him this. He actually tries. He might not be a lockdown defender because his lateral foot speed might not be the greatest, and it's certainly not gotten any better as time gone along. However, he actually wants to be present on the defensive end and will rotate, so I will give you that in that regard. That goes for a lot more than some players, including NBA players who have no want to play the defensive end.
So I had to throw those tidbits in there because I felt like there was going to be no more appropriate moment than now with the introduction of I.DEAL. However, I want to get back to Jokic real quick and then we'll move on from this. Now, I know from gaining a little bit of weight over the years and trying to continue to play at a high level that my knees have taken a hell of a beating, my joints, from that weight that I put on trying to run up and down the court, jump shooting. I would like to think that his knees are going to feel a whole lot better. His joints are going to feel a whole lot better. His back. He's going to sustain a longer, healthier career, I think, because of this.
But how much of his game was predicated on being able to dump the ball into the post and bully somebody to get to the basket? I will say for this, he's lucky in the regard there's not a lot of many big bullies left in the league, right?
You got Zion. Ooh, that's another guy we got to talk about possibly losing weight just to keep a healthy, sustainable career. Because we've never seen, besides I.DEAL and LeBron James, we've never seen an athlete quite like this.
That rare combination of size and speed.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell myself all the time, like when I go out there and I look at the rim, it's only 10 feet. I'm like, it doesn't look that high. I think I could get up there and get it. And then I realize
reality sets in.
No, not even that. It's like if you were to get up there, I think I'd be more scared about coming down. So a guy like Zion's size, I mean, what people fail to realize is when you land 3 times whatever your weight is. So if you're a 250 guy or a 300 guy, you're coming down with the force of impact of almost 900 pounds. And learning proper jumping mechanics is so important. A lot of athletic trainers can teach guys to be explosive, right? And that's great, but you also got to teach them how to control that explosiveness. It's similar to having a car. You putting in a Porsche engine, yeah, and it's going to go super fast and it's going to look great, but you forgot to put the brakes in.
The other thing about Zion I'd like to bring up, I've never seen anybody, and I don't know the correct term, maybe you do, I.DEAL, have a quicker second jump, meaning if they put the ball up, if they shoot the ball, they miss, They get their own rebound. I've never seen anyone get up as quick as him.
That's true. I'm not going to even argue with that.
He's amazing.
There's a lot of people that take a load up to get off and jump. And he doesn't need that load up. It's instant burst. It's quick twitch fiber muscles.
He'd have to be one of the top 3 heaviest players in the league next to Marjanovic, I would say Jokic, and Zion.
Yeah. I mean, he's over 270, so.
All right, on that podcast, we have to say goodbye to one of my basketball heroes growing up. Just recently, one of my favorite players has decided to call it a career after 22 seasons. Vinsanity, Air Canada, Vince Carter, so many names for him. Half man, half amazing. He's decided to retire. We didn't know if he would ever retire because he was still playing at enough of a level where he was valuable. So my question to you, I.Deal, is after 22 seasons, is Vince Carter a Hall of Famer?
First, I want to shed light on its sad day because he's ultimately the last player from the 90s to play in the league, correct?
Yes.
There's no one else with the ties to there, so wanted everyone to know that's listening to the true Chicago sports fan, and this is the All Net podcast with I.Deal and Mike Logic. Mike Logic running things here. We're old. Damn. I always know I'm getting old when I realize, wait a minute, I'm watching a kid play and I'm like, dang, I watched his daddy play in the league. I watched his daddy play in college. Oh, man. So to go back and answer your question, is Vince Carter a Hall of Famer? I think if you look at it from a statistical standpoint, he's a fringe Hall of Famer. And I always say, you got to go with your initial reaction. When someone asks you if someone's a Hall of Famer, it's either yes or no immediately. I don't want the pandering back and forth. I'm going to say yes. But I think it's more along the lines of his impact on the game that he had and just the way he was essential for making basketball explode in Canada. Canada, it's huge now, basketball. It gets all traced back to the fact of Vinsanity.
So let me make my case for Vince. 22 seasons, 8-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, Slam Dunk Contest. We haven't even talked about the fact that he is the best. And I don't think there's any question. He is the best in-game dunker of all time. That dunk he had on Frederick Weiss, the USA versus France game in the Olympics, that is the greatest dunk I've ever seen in my life. And I don't think there's a better in-game dunker. Vince Carter's also 6th all-time on most three-pointers made. He shot for his career 37% from the three-point line. I think that's enough to get him in. He was also a 2-time All-NBA player.
But I mean, if you look at his overall points per game in his NBA season, he averaged 16.7, rebounds 4.3, assists 3.1, steals 1 a game, and blocks almost 0.6, a little over half a game. So I think do those scream numbers to you that are Hall of Fame numbers?
But I think he had...
There's a lot of guys that put up those numbers.
I think he had close to 10 seasons where he was 20 plus.
If you look at his total points scored throughout his career, he's over 25,000, so he's up there. I'm going to say yes.
I think due to the longevity.
Just the fact he played 22 years is impressive enough. And you know what I would like to say? Like, he was more of a slasher dunker, but as his career went on, obviously those athletic parts of his game diminished to some degree. At 42, he'd still throw it down on you if he wanted to, an occasional flashback. But I would like to say that he did expand upon his game and added more elements to it, which I'm a fan of and appreciative of.
That 50-point performance he put on the 76ers when him and AI were going at it in the Eastern Conference Finals, regarded as one of the best playoff performances of all time. A couple more things I want to say about Vince Carter. He made a promise to his mother when he left school that he would go back and finish and get his degree. He did that during those same finals that we were just speaking of. And some people thought it might have been selfish. I have no problem with it. He made a promise to his mother. If you promise something to your mother, I know you're gonna follow through on it, regardless of what other people think. Well, he still made the game. So I didn't understand the big problem with that. And the other thing about Vince Carter, I think, that gets lost is the fact that he was able to be a superstar, and then he was able to also put his ego aside as his career progressed, and he became a role player, and he embraced that role. A lot of superstars can't do that. Melo, AI couldn't do that. But that's that contributed to him playing 22 seasons.
Let me ask you though, Vince Carter, are you taking him on a championship team to be your alpha dog?
Yes.
He's gonna be good enough to lead you to a title?
He would have to be the one, but he would also need a strong cast around him. Now, I think if him and Tracy McGrady had been able to be paired together for longer, there was a good possibility that I will say, and Kobe Bryant has said it too, that they would have got some championships. They would have had some rings.
You had two athletic specimens together that were wing players that could have dominated the game, both 6'7", 6'8", play above the rim. And unfortunately, McGrady decided he needed to have his own team and have his own shine. And I think if you look at both of their careers, it worked out for the best.
Let's compare their careers. Who would you take in their prime to lead your squad?
Tracy McGrady, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
I'm not even hesitating on it. He was a more complete player.
He was taller.
Better shooter.
I wouldn't say he's a better shooter. He shot 33% from the three for his career. Vince shot 37.
But
he averaged for his career 3 more points.
But people like you guys always go to this 3-point statistic. But you got to remember
because he shot a lot.
The 3-pointer wasn't that big though in that era. The 3-point revolution didn't just happen until like the 2010s, and the emphasis of shooting the 3 and really looking at the analytics and saying taking a 18, 19 foot 2-point jump shot is worthless when compared to a 3. Like, it doesn't make sense. So
now, to make your case, I'll say that T-Mac was a 7-time All-NBA player, 7-time All-Star, had a much shorter career than Vince Carter. And I'll also say, in his prime, I think he was the better player than Vince Carter, if you go by the numbers.
That's why I'm going with Tracy McGrady. I'm not going to even make this close.
But I felt like it was closer than people wanna say it is. I thought you could make a case for Vince. There was 2 seasons where Vince put up 27 points. Vince played in 88 playoff games. Tracy McGrady played in 50.
He played in 22 seasons. He almost played in a quarter of a century of basketball.
How about the fact that Vince Carter made 16 game-winning shots in his career? He was one of the most clutch players of his time.
I'll give you the stats that matter the most to me, the accounting stats. If you look at their careers, Tracy McGrady averaged more points per game, more rebounds per game, more assists per game, more steals per game, and more blocks per game.
But it was close. That's it. I just want you to say that it's not that far apart. Like, because you're coming with
how many times have you ever seen Vince Carter handle the ball and initiate offense?
Not like Tracy.
Exactly. Give me the guy that can start the offense and run it.
All right, you win this one. I give you Tracy McGrady was the better player.
I win this one and every other one to ensue.
But it's not even close who had the better career.
Well, I mean,
there you go. Okay, cool.
Tracy McGrady had injuries.
Mike's right. Point Mike.
Mike was due.
All right, so I want to bring up something random, as I tend to. I wanted to bring up something random. I got home from work a few days ago, grabbed something to eat, sat down, and I turned on the NBA TV channel. And there was the 2004 Lakers versus Pistons finals, Game 5.
David versus Goliath. If you even go back and watch the actual buzzers and stingers that they had for the live broadcast, they did actually use David versus Goliath. But go ahead, continue, Michael.
So the Lakers, they were the heavy favorite to win this series. I forgot how much the Lakers got absolutely manhandled by the Pistons. The Pistons just appeared to be the better all-around team. And I wanted to dive into it because I thought it was really interesting. So the 2004 Lakers, they were led by Phil Jackson as the coach. They finished 56-26, and they were second in the Western Conference. And like I said, they were the heavy favorites. They were led by Kobe and Shaq. They also had future Hall of Famers Karl Malone and Gary Payton on the team. But Karl Malone was no longer Karl Malone at the age of 40, and Gary Payton was no longer the glove. They had an aging Rick Fox, and they had Derek Fisher, who they brought off the bench because they had Gary Payton running the point. Now, they played the Rockets in the first round, had no problem at all with the Rockets. Finished them off 4-1. Then they played the defending champion Spurs in the second round.
Who they actually had lost to in 2003. If you remember, the Lakers were coming off a three-peat from 2000 to 2002. Matched up against the Spurs in 2003 and lost.
Yes.
They came back and got their revenge.
Yeah, the Spurs lost that series 4-2, and the Lakers just kept chugging along. Then they met KG and the Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals.
And this was MVP year, KG.
Yo, KG was an amazing player. I'm going to have to talk about KG someday.
I got a great KG story.
Go ahead.
He dunked on me.
KG dunked on you?
Yeah, I played with him in a pickup game.
Whose team won?
They did. I didn't know it was KG at the moment. But
until his nuts were in your face.
Well, he didn't technically dunk on me, right? So I was running back on transition, backpedaling. The guy threw a oop from a half court. And it was near the rim, and I could go by the rim at the time. So I was like, I'll jump and block it down. And then right behind me came some 6'10" dude that just slammed it over. That's another story, another time, another place.
Had that been Marcus Fizer, you wouldn't have got dunked on.
Marcus Pfizer is a bum. I was at Brooks Park, right?
Talk about it.
Me and my guy David, we're at Pooh Bear. We're at Brooks Park. We're in a boxing. We were boxing at the time, right? So there was a older men's league going on downstairs, and for whatever reason, we're sitting up top. We're like, "Yo, that dude looks like Marcus Pfizer." We're like, "Nah, it can't be Marcus Pfizer. This dude is getting destroyed by a 45-year-old or 50-year-old old man. He's just destroying him in the post, putting these post moves on him, up fakes and whatnot." We walk outside. There's a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon with the number 22 on it, I think it was, or there was some kind of, logo or whatnot indicating this definitely was Marcus Pfizer. It was one of the greatest things of all time. I wish we had the capability that we have now with our phones, because I would have certainly recorded that and put that on some kind of social media.
That was the Marcus Pfizer drafted in 2000 as the
fourth overall.
Yeah, 4th overall by the Bulls.
No notes needed here. You're talking to the Schwami.
So back to KG and the Timberwolves. The Lakers had no problem with that series as well. They ran through the Timberwolves, finished the series off 4-2. So what the hell happened? They had all this momentum. You would think that the Pistons were going to get steamrolled, right?
No. Because if you go back and look at the regular season matchup, and I believe this was even before they acquired the rights to Rasheed Wallace, but they actually finished the season 2-2. So they split the series, and that was before Rasheed Wallace was even on the team.
So the 2004 Detroit Pistons, they were coached by the legendary Larry Brown. General manager was Joe Dumars. And I bring that up because Joe Dumars had won titles as a player with the Bad Boy Pistons. And he was responsible for putting this complete team together. They finished 54-28, and they were 3rd in the East. They were led by Chauncey Billups, a.k.a. Mr. Big Shot, Rip Hamilton, who I've said is one of my favorite players when it comes to coming off screens. Yes. Tayshaun Prince, who was, I believe, in his 2nd year at the time.
Yes, I was a big Tayshaun Prince fan coming out of Kentucky. Just felt his overall game was very smooth, and obviously he was 6'10" with probably a 29-foot wingspan, who knows.
And he had the task of trying to guard Kobe Bryant that series. He held Kobe, not just him, but Pistons as a unit, held Kobe to only 24 points for that series.
Actually, Kobe averaged 22 points a game, and Shaq averaged 26. There was not a lot going on with them. And just to show you how top heavy those Lakers were, after Kobe and Shaq, we'll cut the difference. You say they both averaged over 20. They both averaged over 20 a game. The next highest scoring player average on the Lakers in that series was Derek Fisher at a paltry 6.4 points a game.
I think the most important player on that Detroit Pistons team was their all-star that year, Ben Wallace. He was the anchor of that defense. He was the man that had to take that beating and bruising from Shaq, trying to guard him for 48 minutes or whatever.
Because if you go back and look at it, you had Rip Hamilton and Chauncey Billups. They both averaged over 20 points a game, while Tayshaun and Ben Wallace had over 10 points a game, and Rasheed Wallace averaged over 13 points a game.
Rasheed was definitely a great acquisition. Oh yeah, this is also the year that they drafted Darko Milicic.
Yes.
Probably Joe Dumars' #1 regret when it comes to basketball. But nonetheless, that didn't stop them. Back to Ben Wallace, the anchor. He had to guard Shaq. Their whole game plan was just beat on Shaq as much as possible. Tire Shaq out, double him, whatever you had to do. And I think if we look back at the series, that was the best game plan. Kobe had his trial in Colorado going on at the time, so he was flying back and forth. So we don't know if that played with his mental at all.
Anytime you're an athlete, you fall into a routine. The best ones can compartmentalize and put whatever's going on aside, but I think we're all creatures of habit, and once that routine is broken, there's going to be some type of effect to your overall performance or overall psyche, and I believe maybe that had something to do with his overall performance in the series. Take a look at Game 1, for example. Shaquille O'Neal had 34 points and 11 rebounds. Great numbers. But everybody else not named Kobe Bryant on that Lakers roster, they accounted for 16 points.
Yeah, and you can't expect 40-year-old Karl Malone to really give you too much at that point in his career. And he had injuries going on too.
So the series started out on a terrible foot for the Lakers. You know, you're at home, you have home court advantage, and in Game 1 you lose. So immediately as a Detroit Pistons player or fan, you're already like, we did our work. We came here and we got our split. It took a Game 2 overtime Lakers win to even the series at home. However, they were saying on the bus ride home as they were boarding the bus, Chauncey Billups said, we ain't coming back.
And they were right. And also, last thing I want to say about Kobe Bryant, he shot 38% from the field. That has to be Tayshaun Prince. Tayshaun Prince's length, very lengthy defender, able to get his hands up.
But you remember they had made a trade and they got like Mike James back, and they had a couple.
Forgot about Mike James.
Yeah, they had a couple guys on there that were pit bulls, to say the least. I think that was even their nickname.
Lindsey Hunter was a good player off the bench.
Lindsey Hunter and Mike James together, they both went out there and their mission was to make it difficult. I think anyone that knows when you have a superstar player, you're never gonna stop them. All you can hope to do is contain them and make life difficult. You want to run multiple bodies at them. You want to be physical. You want to give them different looks. And you want to keep them guessing. But if you got a guy who's special, I want your body on him the whole time. If this man goes to the bathroom, I want you to let me know if he went number 1 or number 2.
So, yeah, I think that gives you guys a pretty good idea for those who don't remember.
Oh, if you remember Game 3, the Lakers set a franchise record low in scoring points of 68 points.
I do remember that. 68 points.
It was almost as terrible as the time the Jazz got that spanking. What did they get, 54 points against the Bulls in that final?
Yeah. We just saw that on The Last Dance. They brought that fact up. Was that Game 3?
Yeah, it was for what, the Bulls?
In the championship.
Yeah, it was Game 3 as well.
Yeah.
So the Pistons went ahead and won Game 1 at the Lakers' home. Lakers took it in overtime at home. And then Detroit swept Game 3 through 5, becoming the 4th team in NBA history to sweep the middle 3 games since 1985. Before it was the 90 Pistons, the 91 Bulls, and the 2001 Lakers. It was done 2 more times by the 2006 and 2012 Heat. If you remember, though, the NBA went back to the 2-2-1-1-1 format in 2014.
That was the last time they played that format.
Yes, 2014.
I know my boy, if he's listening, Mel L, is just smiling listening to this segment because he's a huge Detroit Pistons fan. And I am not a huge Detroit Pistons fan. I'm quite the opposite, but...
And this was the final nail in the coffin for that iteration of the Lakers. If you recall correctly, in the offseason, Phil Jackson resigned. Shaq got traded to Miami.
Yeah.
And Gary Payton got traded off to Boston.
And it worked out for Shaq. However, I feel like if they had just they got rid of their older players, because Rick Fox was aged, Gary Payton was aged, Karl Malone was aged. If they found 1 or 2 more really good pieces, younger pieces.
But this isn't a secret to anybody. It doesn't matter what they were going to do. Your 2 stars were never going to get along. So you had to split it up.
I'm just saying, I felt like they were still within their championship window.
But they weren't going to get together. So as an organization, if you were running the Lakers, would you have kept Shaq and traded Kobe?
Keeping Kobe.
Oh, then what are we arguing here?
We're just talking. I am Mike Logic, sitting here with my man I.DEAL.
What it do, baby?
Stay tuned for our interview with the producer in the spotlight, as well as our special guest, Ronesh, coming up next. What's up, y'all? This is Mike Logic of the All Net Podcast. I have an exclusive offer for our true Chicago sports fans. Go to www.citysportsmask.com and purchase a wonderful handmade and ready-to-order mask. They offer the Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox, and Bears mask. You get 10% off with the discount code TCSF. So check out their website today. Go to www.citysportsmask.com. Make sure to get the 10% off with the discount code TCSF and rep your hometown team right and in style. Right, on that podcast, right now, it brings me great pleasure to introduce the show's very first guest. This is history making. Rapper extraordinaire. He is the producer in the spotlight from Oakland to Sacktown.
Bay Area and back down.
My man, Ronesh.
Let's start that out from Des Plaines first and foremost, but then, yeah.
Yeah, we can't skip over that you're a Des Plaines native. So let the people on that podcast know a little bit about who Ronesh is.
Who is Ronesh? Let's see, what did you not already say? You said all that producer, rapper extraordinaire stuff.
Philanthropist.
Let's not give me too much credit. You know, I'm a guy who likes to make music with these good gentlemen that I'm speaking to right now. I'm doing it a long time, just like them. I'm somewhat of a rabid fan of hip hop and rap music. And I dig hoops. You know, I like watching basketball. Always have.
Would you call yourself a basketball enthusiast?
Enthusiast, yeah. I don't think I'm probably as deep as you. Like, I remember watching a game like Jared Dudley was playing on the Nets like maybe 2 years ago. And I was like, who's this dude? And I looked him up, and he'd been in the league 10 years. So it's like...
Bro, he's only 33 or 34. He looks like he's 44.
I'm just saying, like, there must have been... There must have been some years there I wasn't watching that much because
You were busy writing raps.
Yeah, or just the Bulls were Bulls were maybe stinking, and well, that didn't stop me from watching the last couple of years. But
So for everybody out there,
enthusiast, I wouldn't say I'm like a connoisseur.
So for everybody out there listening, just some background. Myself, Ronesh, I.DEAL, we've been friends for over 2 decades. We've been rapping for over 2 decades.
Yep.
We got
That's pretty impressive too, because I.DEAL's only 21, so
he definitely looks like he's only 21.
You know, been making hits for a long time.
Yeah, yes, sir. All right, so you've been following the current state of the NBA. You know what's going on.
Yeah. So most recent updates that I just saw, being here in Sacramento, Jabari Parker, Buddy Hield, and Alex Len of the Kings, the Sacramento Kings, have all tested positive for COVID.
Oh, great.
Also, Malcolm Brogdon.
I was going to say Malcolm Brogdon, who was at the protests. You know, everything was on schedule. We were going to have players reporting to their hometown training camps June 30th. Players had up to June 24th to say if they would decline to play or not, and we saw some players do that. I saw Bertans from Washington.
Right.
I think the whole Washington Wizards team should decline to play anyways.
Yeah, what's the point?
They're only going to be there. They're only going to be there a few games.
Sacramento Kings, what's the point?
What's the point? Phoenix Suns, what's the point? Thanks for playing. So I think a bunch of those teams will be out of the running for a playoff spot really quick. But so you have some players in the past week or two really voicing their opinion about not wanting to resume the season for a multitude of reasons. You had a bunch of players say that they didn't want to restart the season because they don't want to take focus off all the protesting, George Floyd's death. Do you think if they resume the season that's going to take focus off those 2 things that I mentioned?
I think there are a number of valid reasons why they might not want to play or maybe shouldn't play. But for me, those are mostly centered around health concerns.
COVID.
Now, I mean, protests are an important issue, and I definitely commend any player that's considering their ability to have influence on, improving our society using that leverage they have. Yeah. But the thing that Kyrie said was he didn't want I think it was Kyrie or Dwight Howard. They didn't want to be a distraction. If you look, we're the June 24th right now, right? So yeah. People already aren't talking about protests.
You realize though, sports is the greatest escape from whatever's going on in your life.
Yeah.
And what's going on in the world. And there is a certain truth to what they're saying, because once the games pick up, and they're going to come very quick, they're going to be every day. It's going to be like a buffet of games every day for the way that we're going to schedule this. It's going to take away from the narrative of what's going on for the people and, protesting for justice, and it's going to get overshadowed. So I understand where they're coming from. Yeah, and I have no qualms with those players that have those reservations and not want to resume. If you want to go help out in communities that really need your help, and like Dwight Howard, he said he would rather be in communities that need his help than win his first championship. Uniting his.
You gotta respect it.
I definitely respect it. Like I said, I respect any player who wants to not resume the season for those reasons. But I will also say this: I feel it's plausible that players have such a big platform, they have such a big voice, that they can play this season out and still get their message across. Because remember the I Can't Breathe shirts? We remember what they look like. Black shirts, white writing. Yeah. I'll never forget that. That's powerful. You can have PSAs at halftime, or you can have little conversations with the players to keep the conversation going.
And especially when, the face of the league is somebody like LeBron James, who is he's going to be continuing the conversation on things other than basketball. We know he's going to use his voice whether or not there's a season, right?
Right.
So people are seeing him playing games every day. They might pay a little bit more attention to what he has to say as well. I don't know. So you got somebody like LeBron, who's generally very outspoken. He has a big platform. A lot of people pay attention to what he does and says. And that does become an even bigger platform when it's going to be, when sports come back, when they do come back, people are going to be watching. I'm in the crib, man. I'm watching every game I can when they come back.
Do you think it's possible that the players could start their own league? You see the logistics working in that? I
don't see that happening in the next 2 years. I think it's an idea.
I'd have no problem with it. But not? Because look at LeVar Ball. He gave you the blueprint. It's not really that hard. You get a couple of investors. You guys pull your money together. You cut out.
But then, okay. So if you're depending on these investors, is it really your league?
They probably have enough money amongst themselves to where they can put this together. And all you got to do is throw a couple sponsorship tags on your jerseys, and you've got it paid.
Right. I mean,
Kyrie has a plan. I think he just said something, say something to make headlines.
That's another possibility. We might talk a little bit more about his tendency to do that later.
So I think we covered the current state of the NBA pretty well. Everything's on schedule right now. The players who declined to play have notified their teams. So I think we can expect to see basketball July 31st.
Before we move on from this segment, I do want to raise one question, and it's an open-ended one that like none of us probably got the answers to, right? But like, what if they get to Florida, start playing, and then this bubble becomes a COVID hotspot?
It will be. There's no way that it's like the same argument people say that like, oh, people that are in jails or prisons, those are segregated populations, and we don't even have to count them with regards to like the testing and worry about the upspike coming from there. But you can never lock down a location 100%.
Right.
In and out of that location regardless. So,
right.
So there will. I almost want to go on the record and say there will be a case that comes out of there, and then I hate to say it, but they probably end up shutting it down.
They said that if a player tested positive for COVID while the season's going on, that player has to quarantine for 7 days, but they're not shutting down the season. So like I said, I'm excited for basketball, as I'm sure all three of us are. But if they decided, you know what, now's not the time, let's try again next season, I'd understand it.
I'd be disappointed, but I would feel like if they came to that decision, then they've probably considered all the factors, and it's probably a smart move.
All right, so here at the All Net Podcast, we're gonna try something that I hope works, because it seems like it's a fun idea to me. We like to intertwine hip hop and basketball here as much as possible. So that's why we have the producer spotlight, which Ronesh is in the producer spotlight. All the beats that you are hearing during this episode are courtesy of my man Ronesh here. But what I want to do now is I want to compare rappers to basketball players. You guys game for this?
Oh, we on board.
I was excited the moment you told me.
All right, well, let's see what you guys think. First rapper and basketball player we're going to compare, Kendrick Lamar to Russell Westbrook.
Yes, I think that was one that I came up with.
Go ahead, talk about it.
Like, first and foremost, it's like that LA Compton connection. I think Russ is from South LA, which is like right down the street from where Kendrick's from in Compton. They're of the same generation, like been stars for about 10 years now, I want to say. Maybe not quite 10 for Kendrick. I think of the song DNA, right? It's a very high energy song, very intense, very emphatic delivery.
Especially the ending.
I think of the way like Russ plays the game, just attacking at all times.
He's got one
like,
speed.
Right. Kendrick has his more laid back joints too, but like what he's most known for probably is those like animated, voices and like unique deliveries he does. They both have had pretty impressive careers, some pretty Russ averaged triple doubles multiple times. Kendrick got a Pulitzer Prize. Like these guys have had a lot of impact on the game. I think they're generally well liked by the fans.
How about this? Let's try 50 Cent. How about the biggest mouth in the NBA of all time, I'd say, Charles Barkley.
So I think like Chuck doesn't ever stop talking. 50 don't ever stop talking. They're always getting in some beefs.
On Chuck's end, literally.
I believe Chuck once threw a guy through a plate glass window when he played for the Sixers.
Yeah, and he actually was quoted when they interviewed him after the incident. He said his only regret was it was on the first floor.
They both are not trying to be your kids' role models, that's for sure.
Yeah. But then when you get down to it as well, behind all the shit talk, again, like pretty great careers.
Definitely. At one point or another, they were both at the top of the
game.
Professions. So whether we're talking about Barkley as a 76er, as when he was with the Suns, he's a great player.
Well, I think his best years was with the Sun, 93.
Definitely. He was an MVP.
Yeah, MVP. Yep.
All right, this one, you got to follow me on this one. I was trying to explain it to you. This is probably the biggest reach that I'll have, but I was trying to find somebody who really had his stardom for a little bit and then had an accident, and he had to wait a little while for his talents to return. So I chose the DOC and Derrick Rose.
I don't really like that one, because when did DOC ever reach the top of the game like Derrick Rose did?
He ghost wrote for Dre on The Chronic.
Okay.
and he was well regarded as
the most important thing that you just said was Ghost. That means no one knows.
He had a dope album. Go check
Okay,
it out.
yeah. So let's say like DOC, he got one album before his accident. I think, all of us would have been pretty young when this dropped. So we probably I definitely was not up on what the DOC was doing in '89. I was 4 years old, you know? But if you talk to older heads who were, maybe like in high school at that time, they're going to see him as one of their greats. And they say, I've talked to some OGs who will say like, at the time, like the DOC was up there in the conversations with like Cube, Rakim, Kane, KRS, whoever else was doing it in '89.
Like, Derrick Rose is obviously the bigger star, but I was just trying to draw the comparison as someone who had a start to their career, was great, had an accident or an injury, accident in DOC's case, injury in Derrick Rose's case, and it kind of halted their career. But eventually, they got...
But DOC never really came back like that.
So me and Ronesh were talking about...
My thing, I think the better comparison for Derrick Rose would be Tiger. Tiger came out, he got his injury, which was a Kardashian, and then he came back, and now he's winning again.
All right. Hey, I'm not mad at that. I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't really find a good comparison for Derrick Rose. I just know that they both had their accidents, and eventually their ability came back to them. DOC was ghostwriting for the Chronic 2001 as well. He wasn't able to rap. His voice eventually came back. That was the whole point of this. Eventually, Derrick Rose, he's back. He's not what he used to be, but he's still playing at a high level.
How many DOC albums between you two do you guys have?
There is only one, right?
Yeah, I stream everything. If you want to use Tiger...
You're a damn liar. There's many packages that get sent to this house from every Chicago underground artist that you support.
I support local Chicago artists. Here's one I know you're going to enjoy. And you too, I.DEAL. Kyrie Irving?
Lupe Fiasco.
How did you know?
Been thinking about this.
Break it down.
So let me first and foremost say much respect to these gentlemen. Excellent in their respective fields. Both all-stars. Kyrie's
one of the best ball handlers of all time.
Yeah.
He's one of the best when it comes to wordplay of all time.
His lyricism is crazy, yeah. And I mean, I think his first couple albums are good too. The newer ones, I can't say they're whack. I don't really bump them like I do the first
they're not whack.
He's a good artist, So here's my thing. Kyrie at times seems like an intelligent dude. He's he reads. He has worldly interests, right? He's kind of eccentric, and then a lot of the time you hear him talk about something and he makes a lot of sense, and then he'll go and be like a flat earther or just say something like some head ass stuff that you want to just tell him to stop talking, right?
He shows his ass from time to time.
From time to time, not to say that he's dumb or ignorant. Just
I think he's
that particular opinion is a dumb one.
Yeah,
I'll go on the record of saying that. Lupe, again, this guy, he clearly knows a lot about the world. He's clearly studied many different disciplines, martial arts.
Super intelligent, very poetic.
So I've had my Twitter account for a long time, since 2009 or something, and back in the day, I was let me get on and follow all my favorite artists, right? And Lupe Fiasco was the first one, I think, where I was man, the way this dude is on Twitter makes me like him less, because the intelligence and I don't want to say intelligence, but he comes across better, I think, when he has time to think about what he's about to say rather than just getting crazy with the Twitter fingers. If you look up Lupe Twitter beefs or Lupe Twitter outlandish statements, there's a laundry list.
Very when it comes to his emotions, right?
They're both very prone to making outlandish claims.
Putting their foot in their mouths, yeah.
The next basketball player and the next rapper. I said AI, and I'm trying to think of the first rapper that pops in my head. And the one that popped in my head right away was DMX. Mm-hmm. Both of them were great. Both of them were on top of their professions at the time. And I feel both of them had a lot of problems and were troubled.
Yes.
They tried to stay relevant for a good amount of time, but eventually they kind of started to fade away. The luster of them started to fade away.
I can't really remember that much about AI's career at the end.
I think he was on
Detroit.
Yeah, he was on Phoenix. So I believe he was on Philadelphia for 10 years. Then he got traded to Denver. Then he got traded to Detroit.
Detroit, right?
And then I think he finished with Memphis. He didn't want to come off the bench. That was a big thing.
So with DMX, I mean, you can see he's phenomenally talented but troubled dude, right? And his personal issues they did impact his career a lot. Like after he stayed pretty successful for maybe 4 or 5 years, and then you just start seeing every month DMX gets arrested for something, right?
Yeah. Allen Iverson started to wear out his welcome in Philly.
Yeah, he has some issues, but like I don't know if they impacted his career as harshly as DMX's
Definitely
did
not.
his.
Definitely not.
AI is for people like us who watched him play while it was happening. Like, man, he was like an icon. For several years, he made David Stern change the whole dress code.
Yeah,
that's how influential. If you see to the young folks who maybe didn't see what Hooper's dressed like in 2001, they weren't wearing fitted suits, tailored suits,
Those baggy jeans and white tees.
Even Kirk Heinrich had baggy jeans and white tees in 03.
Yeah, that draft class picture is hilarious in 03. So, let's try this one. I wanted to do rookies who are having a huge impact. And I chose Zion Williamson. And then I need some beat with some bop in it. The Baby. Because every time I get in the car and I turn on the radio, it's always, I need some beat with some bop in it. It's like, the Baby is on every single radio station all day, every day.
Baby just got on the remix to What's Poppin' with Jack Harlow.
Did he really?
Yep. Baby, Wayne, and Tory Lanez on that remix.
Wow. So, I.Deal, would you be cool with that Zion? Because Zion Williamson...
I do like it because... just from the aesthetics, although Baby's not a super tall guy, he's kind of well built frame-wise. So he almost has that bully vibe, and as you've seen throughout his career and his numerous incidences he had with either people on the streets or fans, he kind of has that Debo to him. So I like it.
Zion Williamson definitely has less problems off the court, or causes less problems than the Baby for sure. But
let's just say the Baby's proclivity towards alleged violence is similar to Zion's issues with his knees. Like, you're really hoping they don't hold him back.
knocking on wood. Hopefully they stay healthy. But I was making the comparison as far as impact. Like, Zion is just coming to the league and taking it by storm. He's bullying grown men. I wasn't expecting him to have this much of an impact so quickly. I thought he would have to take a little bit of time until he was really, really playing at a high level. But man,
well, why though? I mean, if I was 6'7", 6'8", 280 and could jump over a car, I would be doing the same thing.
Because I thought Zion was undersized for his position. He doesn't have a great outside shot.
And as any rookie, right? Like, no matter how good you are, you haven't played against full teams of professionals.
You haven't played against grown men,
right? So I think it's like a lot of the greats, you see him take a couple of years to get to the level that Zion's already at. What, he's 19 years old, 20?
I mean, are we pulling a Dennis Green? You guys are trying to crown him. What has he played, like 20 games?
Something like that.
He's only played a handful of games. Let's calm down.
I'm just going off impact of what I've seen so far. This one was kind of hard for me to choose. It was between two people. Dennis Rodman. I.Deal, who do you think I chose for Dennis Rodman?
6'9".
I'm not mentioning 6'9" in this podcast. No, I took Kanye West. I took Kanye West because you have no idea what the hell Kanye is going to say or do. Same thing with Rodman. You had no idea what he might show up to a book signing in a dress and marry himself. You have no idea with Dennis Rodman. He's totally unpredictable, but you don't have to question their ability. They're incredibly talented individuals.
I can see it. They both just attract the cameras, fame, right? Like, Rodman was known for dating very famous women, Carmen Electra.
And it's funny you say that about attracting the cameras, because both of them originally were shy, and they both did not like the cameras. Dennis Rodman, when he was on the Pistons, he did not like being interviewed. He did not like being around the media. Kanye West, when he was younger, he was a shy guy on the mic. All right, so the next one is a 2-for-1 because I see a lot of similarities between these basketball players. I took Scottie Pippen, Klay Thompson, and I compared them to Big Boy. So Andre, to me, is always getting the kudos and the roses thrown at his feet.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
He's in a lot of the conversations about the GOAT.
And Steph's one of the greatest players of his era. But yo, Pippen and Klay Thompson are dogs, and they're up there too. They don't get as much of the spotlight as Steph or MJ. When MJ, decided to retire, which Andre 3000 takes long hiatuses, does Big Boy stop? No, Big Boy just keeps going harder and harder.
Right.
Man, that one song he did with Killer Mike and Jeezy.
Oh, the Kill Bill.
Killer Mike's verse was probably one of the top verses of the year to me. But
yeah, he never stopped. He got 3 or 4 solos. He got the project with Fanagram. He got the Dungeon Family, or album with Kryptonite.
I'm on that Kryptonite.
Purple Ribbon All Stars.
Now that you're saying,
okay,
they basically all are Robin to the Batman.
All right, this one I like, and Ro, you came up with this one. Ray Allen and Twista. Explain that.
All right, so I would say both of those guys are they're both known for a very specific skill that they have mastered. Ray Allen, prior to Steph coming along, was widely probably considered the greatest 3-point shooter of all time. Some might have said Reggie.
Those three.
So of his era, were barely anybody shooting threes like Ray. And so if you look at Twista, like what he's mostly known for is like, oh yeah, this dude could rap faster than anybody.
But I will argue this: if you remember young Ray Allen, he was not just shooting threes. That dude was playing above the rim.
If you look at young Twista, the Resurrection album, he don't rap. He raps fast on one song on that. Good as hell, lyrical as hell, flow is great. The song Suicide.
He was giving bars. He was going at
bars
by nature.
And like even if you listen to any of his faster stuff, if you slow that down, he's doing a lot more than just rapping fast.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite rappers.
Well-rounded MC, well-rounded artist, and I think like Ray Allen, like in his prime, he was doing a lot more than shooting threes too. Like he's a competitor.
All right, so the next one, I think we're gonna have fun with this. Draymond Green. See, Draymond Green, he really let me down because I went to bat for this cat. I've said that I thought he was gonna be a Hall of Famer.
I remember that.
My Draymond Green comparison is Mike Logic.
Hold on a second.
There was a lot.
Draymond never took 11 years off though, but
true.
But like he's like without I.DEAL in words, and like the Splash Brothers.
I'm not liking where this.
Okay.
I gotta
go ahead. Do your bit.
Producers, we're gonna edit this segment out.
Draymond Green from the beginning. I just wanted to take an unnecessary shot.
First of all, before I get to that comparison, Draymond Green really pisses me off because I went to bat for this cat and I said that I thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer. And Klay get hurt and he has to step up and be one of the main dogs of the team. What does he do? He goes and hides in the shadows. He was averaging like 7 points.
As Charles Barkley likes to say, he averages a triple single.
That's Draymond Green.
Which going back to our earlier point, that sounds like something 50 Cent would say to Clown.
I can compare Draymond to somebody who needs a strong cast around him. I compare him to somebody who needs a strong cast around him. So I said, I think Draymond Green reminds me of Wishbone.
Man, that's really disrespectful, though.
To who?
To Draymond Green, man.
Draymond Green.
Draymond.
That's what he's playing like Wishbone.
Aren't you one of these fools that was in my ear talking about Draymond Green's gonna be a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
So I can go along with this on some level because if you look at the first 2 Bone albums, Creeping On, Come Up, and East 99, Wishbone's good. He's cool. You got a little verses. Like, there's never a point where I'm like, man, this dude.
But he was never.
He wasn't an all-star.
He wasn't the first verse on any song ever.
Yeah.
He would only get in 8 bars, and he would repeat it. He would give you a 4-bar almost bridge. So just repeat it.
I feel like he didn't start doing that until The Art of War, which I'm gonna compare to when KD showed up. So I think starting out kind of good and then falling off a lot, that works. But at the end of the day.
I'm giving Ronesh credit for this joke because it's hilarious. And you got to say, you're not buying that Draymond Green solo album. Okay, so we've come to the part of the podcast where I feel like I'm about to piss people off.
What are you gonna do?
Stir it up.
I took Tupac and I compared him to LeBron James. People will argue he's the greatest. He's been relevant for a very long time. The big one for me, besides the greatness, is the fact that both were very outspoken, especially when it comes to social and political issues. That's how I really drew that comparison.
Yeah, and I think like, looking at both of those dudes, they didn't forget where they came from, humble beginnings. They seem to still care about people in less fortunate situations than themselves. The Bron haters are going to be real mad at that.
Oh yeah.
But so are the Tupac haters. So
I.Deal, what do you think?
I'm not mad at that one. I see where you were trying to go with that, and I'll let that slide. Usually, I jump at a chance to give you any guff at this point. I'm not mad at that comp.
All right. Well,
if Lil Wayne was a more consistent rapper throughout his career, more consistently dope, I would say that could be a comparison.
No, but I think he does a very good job of bringing up the simple fact that they have more philanthropist side to that.
Yeah, Wayne don't have that.
We got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I compared him to Rakim. And I compared him to Rakim because a lot of people consider Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to be the greatest player of all time. A lot of people consider Rakim to be the GOAT as well in his profession.
This has got to be for our 45 and plus age.
I was gonna say a lot of the younger generation won't know these two. They won't understand their greatness unless they really go back and study.
I mean, I think beyond the greatness, like there's a lot of similarities.
Well, good.
These are both dudes who, at a young age, converted to Islam. Or I think Rakim joined 5% Nation, which is an offshoot. They both are really into like reading, jazz music, laid back dudes, very much into their faith, just like general low key and pretty intelligent. That's the vibe I get. If you ever read anything Kareem wrote, he sometimes writes articles, and he could be a writer, like a professional,
He's very thoughtful. He's got a lot of great quotes. Look up some Kareem Abdul-Jabbar quotes.
And I would say Kareem probably was more outspoken about like politics and things like that. In general, they're just dudes I would say are like thoughtful without the added putting their foot in their mouth of some of the other thoughtful guys we talked about earlier.
Yeah. All right, guys. For the final comparison, and I know everybody's been waiting for it, who are we going to compare Jay-Z to? Anybody got any guess who I compared Hov to?
Maybe somebody who came back came back wearing the 4-5.
4-5? Yes. I compared Hov to Michael Jordan. I.Deal and Ro, please discuss.
I mean, I don't think anybody has had a bigger impact on the rap game or the larger culture than Jay. Like, whether or not you're personally into his music, because I know there's a lot of people who aren't. I love a lot of his music, not every album. He dominated the game for a long, so he held you down 6 summers.
Are we essentially saying that Jay-Z's the greatest of all time? Is that what we're saying? Or are we just saying they retired, came back, and their cultural impact?
I was like, for me, I wouldn't probably have him as my number one for like my personal preference of what I like to listen to.
Saving that for I.Deal. I get it. Go ahead.
He'd be in the top 5 and not 5, but
hey.
But if you think about like how they met, the level of which they crossed over to mainstream, like
their impact on the culture.
Yeah, like I mean, Mike. We watched The Last Dance, right? Like you see what Mike did for the NBA. How big the game got, right? Like,
and they both have sold out the Garden. Beg your pardon. Yeah, if as long as we're not saying he's the greatest, because I don't know if I'm ready to say Jay's the greatest rapper of all time.
Who would be your MJ? Don't say Big Pun.
No, I mean, you're asking who's the greatest rapper?
Who?
I'm not mad at your comparison. I'm just saying Jay-Z. Jay-Z, yeah, that's a great comparison. I would just more like, I just want a clarification. Are you saying that?
I don't have.
I will say, beginning to end discography. If you take only the good songs, only the ones I like, Jay probably got more than any other solo rapper. There are groups I might listen to more.
Well, it was like we were having this conversation when how the versus battles are going on and whatnot, and we were like, who would be able to go hit for hit with Jay-Z?
It has to be a rapper, or it could be.
I was like rapper. I was like, who would be able to go hit for hit like a versus? I was like, the only one you'd be able to maybe do it is you'd have to dig up Pac and bring him back.
Even there, the quantity, there might not. There probably ain't as many hits. Maybe there are.
For Pac?
I mean, you could play the whole Me Against the World and All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli album.
Yeah, but Jay's had decades on Pac.
Yeah.
So I'm saying for this purpose, comparing somebody to Michael Jordan, I'm saying Jay.
I mean, he like you said, he came back wearing a 4-5, not to play with you.
Right.
I'm not mad at that comparison, actually, after some thought.
I gotta jump off in a second.
I think this has been a great conversation, and I really thank you for your time, Ronesh.
There's one more I want to get in here. Joe Budden.
Oh, God.
Mark Jackson. So I'm going to give you my reasoning behind this. We could probably agree. I know we have back in the day sat around listening to Joe Budden. We can agree that like at one point he was a pretty good rapper, right?
Pump it up.
He's a little moody, never mind.
Okay, so you know what? So now he has moved on. He's no longer rapping, but he has moved on to a successful career in the media, right? Doing his podcast, his
very successful, very entertaining.
If you see Mark Jackson as he's moved on first to coaching and now broadcasting. Man, both of them dudes are bitter as hell. Like Mark Jackson could not.
You better hope Joe Budden doesn't hear this.
What's he gonna do? Record a podcast dissing me? I'll get in the studio in 5 minutes. What up, Joe?
Hold up, Joe.
That is Ronesh Joe Budden, Ronesh.
Ronesh, so fresh.
So you notice like Mark Jackson couldn't stand that the Warriors became great after he left. Look at how Joe Budden is always throwing these little side shots at like Royce the 5'9" or like people he used to work with, and
like it's over, brah.
Like he has done well for himself, and I commend him for his success in this broadcasting field. But he's bitter. I mean, I know some bitter rappers, bro, but
that's a really good comparison. I had no idea where you're going with that. I probably should have thought about the bitterness.
And at the same time, like Mark Jackson, regardless of his bitterness, you can't really front on that. He was a pretty good point guard, you know?
He's a pretty good coach, too.
Yeah, pretty good coach. You can forget about it when you hear him talk about how Steve Kerr is just overrated coach or...
Well, he basically get run out of there because he was a little too much with his
He's very preachy. He's very preachy.
And that's what kind of got him ran out of there.
What kind of got him blackballed, I think. So, Ro, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with the All Net podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
We discussed a lot. Thank you for also being the first guest that we've had on the show, and you were also the artist in the producer spotlight.
That's right.
Let the audience know where they can find your music if they want to hear you.
You can find me on any streaming services, Spotify, Apple. Also got Bandcamp. If you look up Ronesh, Ronesh. And then my socials, you'll find me at Ronesh So Fresh, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, any of that. Yeah, hit me up. You like these beats you're hearing on this podcast. I got more where they came from.
Just bring that cash.
That's right.
Beats ain't free. Hey, well, thanks again, Ro, and I hope when the season starts up, if it starts up, that we'll have some interesting conversations about what's going on, and hopefully we'll have you on the podcast again. Thanks again for your time, bro.
All right, peace, I.Deal. Peace, Mike.
So that's going to wrap up another episode of the All Net Podcast. Thanks for checking it out. Thank you to my co-host I.Deal, as well as our guest Ronesh. Great basketball conversation. Special thank you to our partner, Shy Native Entertainment, as well as true Chicago sports fans. We are going to end the show with a world premiere song. It's from Doc Watson featuring Ronesh. It's called Bridge the Gap, and you heard it here first on the All Net Podcast. Check us out next time. Until then, swish.
Yo. 94, 95, started playing the sax. 96, 97, started writing these raps. Around the same time I first got the solo in band, improvising over whatever instrumental I had. Before I ever kicked it off the dome floor or ripped the microphone, yo, I would get in my bag. But my interest in my instrument, it would soon get switched to a pen and a pad. Keyboard and cool edit, trying to get my beats fat. Made a couple slaps, but it was something that they lacked. In order to go forward, I had to look back. Digging in the soul and the funk and the jazz. Now I'm both a student and a master of my craft. And I'm never disconnected cause I'm bridging all the gaps. Practice time travel on a two-way path. And I'm standing right here between the future and the past.
Growing up, all my idols had been dead for decades. Feeling like I'm lost trying to chop through a hedge maze. Peeps is reppin' MJ, Scottie Pippen. I would fuck with Cannonball, Adelaide, and Johnny Griffin. Mingus, Ellington, Thelonious Monk. Bebopping through the hallways, exploding the funk. Dreamed of melodies that would drive the genre berserk. Dragging three horns around like Rashawn Roland Kirk. Studied music, but I couldn't commit. Went to college, hated practicing my skills and perfecting my pitch. Then one day I was just messing around, jamming with cats. Took my lips up off the sax and I slid in a rap. Give big ups to the sack, band ahead of his time. Pretty good at sax, but I know I'm better with rhymes. Overshare facts, but I show I'm clever with lines. Build tracks from the root up and head in the pines. Keep dividing subgenres, I'll get in a slice. Maybe fuck around with Bo and just develop a pie. Heavyweight kid camp near the edge of the ridge. The best way to cancel over the bridge.